Hello everyone, it's Shane Kanto, your Wasteland reviewer, and I'm here to review Love Exposure, and this is the new film that we're looking at for the Filmstagram Movie Club. Shaking things up, we're no longer looking at specific directors, and now looking at some films that are underappreciated gems, and I had never heard of this film before, and this crazy Japanese love triangle clocks in around 4 hours. Like, just shy of 4 hours. And boy, is this movie really Japanese. There's like a very specific sensibility about this film in terms of where it goes and tone. It's really darkly funny. It has surprising like action fight set pieces that just pop in throughout the film. And there's just a sense of weirdness and particular things that are very Japanese issues, like the main character, Yu, is an upskirt photographer, which like apparently is a serious problem in Japan and really isn't a thing here, but it's a central piece of this film and it's very much Japanese. And what was very interesting is I looked this film up, and apparently the original cut was 6 hours. You're sitting here and you have Sion Sono, who wrote and directed this film, and I'm sitting here thinking, this didn't need to be 4 hours. There's definitely some pieces that could have been trimmed back. They didn't necessarily need to be there. And I'm sitting here like, how is this 6 hours? And this film has a lot of energy though. It zips along. And yeah, there's some pieces that probably could have been a little tighter. Just make it a little tighter. But it makes great use of everything that's in it. And obviously, over the course of 4 hours, you go across all kinds of different experiences in this film, and it focuses on a lot of different things. In the end, this film is really about this love triangle, with this young woman in the center, and you have on one side this young man from a very strict religious household of his father's, who just so happens to be dressed up as a woman on a dare by his upskirt photographer friends. And he kisses this young woman after a very awesome, well-choreographed action scene of them fighting off this gang. And bam, he has feelings, she has feelings for this Miss Scorpion that he's dressed up as. And then this other young woman, who's part of this cult, which religion is a very big part of this film, and this young woman dresses up as Miss Scorpion and is like, no, I'm Miss Scorpion, and like she's digging on this other young woman, and they start like having relations with each other, and there's this push and pull of these three characters throughout this film, and they go to great lengths, very violent lengths, and very deadly lengths to try to resolve this tension and trying to get the girl at the end, which this is the kind of film where it's like, you want to see him get the girl at the end. Even though some of the stuff he does is really effed up all the way through this film to get to that point. And this isn't like he's a nice guy fighting against this bad person for the love of this nice girl. They're all a little weird. They're all experiencing their different things, and he's very perverted. And this film could be construed as perverted in like, which I think is a lot more expected in Japanese culture than, like, as an American sitting watching this, I'm like, I don't see a whole lot of films where they show boners. And, like, very exaggerated erections at that in this film. And one of them which gets chopped off. And I was like, whew. And it's interesting because you get so much backstory on each of these characters, and this young cultist girl has such a strange relationship with her father, which leads to her castrating him and just like chopping it off, and like a hose, like a fire hose of blood just like everywhere. I'm just like, yep, very Japanese. You don't see these kinds of things a whole lot in American cinema. And like the climax of the film that really helps our young man realize how much he loves this young woman is, you know, him having a moment where he just gets this raging erection. And you're just sitting there like, yeah, this movie went there. It's very sexual, obviously. It deals with sexuality a lot. It's darkly funny. There's a lot of action peppered throughout the film that's really well put together. It's dark. It challenges you in a lot of different ways. And religion is such a big centerpiece because you have our young lead, you, played by Takahiro Nishijima, who does a really great job in this film. He is from a household, like, his mother dies and his father is this, like, unrelenting religious figure who makes him confess his sins every day, and it's basically like, if you can't think of a sin, that's your sin because you have sinned and you should know what your sins are, and then he starts making up sins. And then he takes it a step further. I'm like, if I'm going to be punished for things I didn't do, might as well do the things I wasn't doing that my father's going to tell me that I sinned. So he starts doing these things, and that's how he gets caught up in doing like this upskirt photography and stuff like that. And the performances are really strong. They're very exaggerated, but like this film's very exaggerated. There's like a lot of yelling in Love Exposure. But the cinematography, it's so well shot. The music's great. There's great imagery. There's one particular shot of like this giant crucifix and in the desert and stuff like that. And that's probably one of the most famous like shots of the film, and it's very evocative, and there's a lot of great imagery in this film. This is quite the film. And as a cinephile, I'm like, I loved the experience of watching this crazy film that I've never experienced anything like this. Is this going to be a film for everyone? Probably not. A lot of people might be a little too perturbed by Love Exposure to really appreciate it. But if you're open-minded and go in and are going to accept that things are going to get weird, I think you can get a lot out of Love Exposure. But those are my thoughts. Let me know what you think, and let's talk some movies. But thank you as always for tuning in and supporting your Wasteland reviewer.